Welcome. My name is Barbara Markham. I'm the Director of Senior Resources for the City of Westland. With me here today is Certified Elder Law Attorney Jim Schuster.
Pleasure to be back, Barb, and I always call it my second hometown.
I have a question for you. What is the difference, a certified elder law attorney? A lot of people say they're elder law attorneys. Is there a special designation as an elder law? What makes you an elder law attorney?
Well, absolutely there is. Under the Michigan rules governing the Michigan Bar of Attorneys, any attorney can say they handle anything at all. If I wanted to say I handle international trade, I could just put on my business card and then I'm an international trade lawyer. Of course, I may not know much, but I can say whatever I want.
Right.
If I blow it up, then the client sue. But until then, all right. A lot of attorneys saying they do real estate, they do wills, trusts, they do elder law. All right, what's certified? What is that all about? I've taken the most difficult course by the National Elder Law Foundation. To qualify for being a certified elder law attorney, I had to prove I had at least 5 years experience working with elder law matters. I had to be able to prove that. 2, I had to have references from 5 attorneys speaking to my knowledge of the law. 3, I had to sit for an all-day exam. And by the way, that exam, the pass rate is like 35 to 40%. So I had to prove that I had experience in elder law and I knew what I was talking about. And that's what a certified elder law attorney is.
Are there attorneys out there who say they're elder law attorneys who don't have those qualifications?
Absolutely. Most do not. As a recent count, there's only about 18 certified elder law attorneys in all of Michigan.
Well, I know you were one of the first.
That's right.
So it's really a privilege to have you and your expertise with us today.
Certainly a pleasure to be here. I'd love to share.
Oh, well, and you know what? I can't tell you how important it is for people out there, because often they get caught in a situation and respond when actually they should stop right in their tracks and consult somebody who knows, because so much money goes out the door that needn't go out the door. People think that they have to do this or do that according to Medicaid or whatever, and often that's not true. So we want to educate people as much as we can who are out there to stop and take stock and then talk to somebody who knows.
Absolutely.
It may save them a lot of money.
Yeah, time and money too, yes.
All right, let's talk about, when we talk about savings, and Westland is relatively a blue-collar town, hardworking people who may have saved what they consider a large amount of money, say $150,000. They have their little nest egg. And then there are problems. There are problems with activities of daily living and bathing and grocery shopping and balancing the bank account and doing some things, and they need some help, and they're looking at maybe independent living is not what they should be doing. When people are looking at options and they're looking at assisted living, let's talk about that, because
Certainly.
First of all, the government doesn't pay for that. That is completely private pay.
That is right. And just for some of the perhaps older folks in the audience, a lot of people remember back in the days of yore when it used to be grandma either lived in her home or she went to a nursing home. Since then, there has grown up, actually started about the 90s of last century, assisted living. And what's assisted living? Well, it does mean that it's not licensed, it's not a medical facility like a nursing home. It's apartments where they'll provide assistance. Now, the assisted living industry has really caught on, and I will tell you that now that they say they have things like memory care. And what is memory care? Well, for a lot of times, all it is a locked floor, where people can't go down the stairs and go outside in the middle of January and freeze to death. Not much more than that. They're supposed to have trained staff. So let's just say assisted living covers a huge range from the old-time continuing care communities that have been around for over 100 years to these new ones where I sometimes think they heard big money be made in assisted living. Now, what are we talking about? Well, I don't know if I know you know, but many of the viewers don't, that you can pay over $5,000 a month for memory care. You can pay $7,000 a month for memory care. And now you can pay, like Northville, Plymouth area where prices start going up.
Yes.
You can pay over $8,000 a month for memory care. So
Assisted living is a good idea, but when they talk about what is offered, because you're living in basically an apartment, okay, but normally if you lived in an apartment for $800 or whatever, what are they getting for $7,000 a month?
well, here's some of the common basics. One, you're supposed to have somebody who's at the desk or front door 24 hours a day. And also you're supposed to have a call, so you can call somebody 24 hours a day. Two, you're supposed, when we're talking the ones that are charging like $7,000 a month, typically they include things like medication delivery. Believe it or not, it's a special service that has to be insured, so you can't just have anybody, have the guy, janitor, go up to room 303 and help Mrs. Smith with her pills. It has to be somebody trained. Many places still offer that as an additional charge of like, $20 a day.
Right.
So anyways, there's that. Then of course there's the meals. And three, there's supposed to be trained staff so that they know how to help somebody. And depends on how high into the assisted living you go. You might get then the complete standard personal care items, like helping getting dressed in the morning and bathing so many times a week. Okay, so I do want to say it can be complete assistance, or it can be just minimal assistance where somebody's at the front door. I'll call it assisted living. You get 3 meals a day, and everything else is a la carte, extra.
Right. If you, I was just talking to somebody, and all she needed was assistance going to the bathroom once a night, and she had to pay a charge per day, and it added up to be like $400 a month. Because she needed to go to the bathroom at 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's like crazy to me.
But still, that's cheap nowadays, $400 a month.
Yeah, well, just for that service, yeah. So she could call down and somebody would come up and help her to the bathroom, and $400 a month. For me, that's ridiculous. And I think, when you're looking, what should you be looking for? When you're going out and you're going to move away from your home, what do you think the most important service is? Now, granted, I think obviously meals, that you don't have to grocery shop. Preparing food can be dangerous if you're having any kind of cognitive problems. Going down, being able to socialize and have an option of 2 or 3 meals a day is great. And I can see tacking on $500 a month for that.
Yeah.
No problem. But other than that, in housekeeping, having somebody come in every week and do the vacuuming and change the linens or whatever, I can see that. But some of those other services are where they really get you for the money.
And let's be clear, Barbara, that some of the things we just identified would be covered under the rubric of independent living. You can pay $2,500 a month now and have all meals taken care of and the house cleaning, all utilities and everything. That'll still be independent because you're just not cooking. When we say assisted living, I would say the key there is most of the times we're talking about 2 kinds of assistance. And under the insurance terms, activities of daily living, and activities are such as ambulatory, helping me get toileting, bathing. Absolutely, those are activities of daily living. Or it's the cognitive issues such as the dementia, the memory care. Okay, and so the activities of daily living need physical assistance for the cognitive issues. If you get into the advanced memory care places, typically they get the person cleaned up in the morning, and then their door to the room is unlocked. It's not a big apartment, just one room, and they can just wander the halls safely, and they can't hurt themselves. And people are always watching to see if anybody's, especially frantic or whatever, having a bad day. That's about what assisted living means, over and above independent living.
And it's funny because now they've really stretched the limits on who should and be independent. Who now the CCRCs, the continuing care retirement communities are great because you can go in under independent and they have the whole spectrum, and you don't have to move. And we know that if there's a cognitive impairment, it's really hard for people to change, to put them in an environment that they're not familiar with. But you're looking now at all these baby boomers who are getting up there, and these are things that people really need to think about as far as long term. Independent, you can be live in independent living and hire out your own home care, whatever you need, assistance. And other than the meals, you know, if a lot of independent living offer meals also. So the thing is knowing what the difference is. And I often see people who are in assisted living who really are well beyond what assisted living should be. So, and there's not really lines drawn in the sand as to what each one is and what each one offers and how much each one is.
And you're right. And there's no legal distinction. I mean, assisted living is what we call a marketing term. It's not a legal term.
Right.
So coming back to one of your, let's say, the problems you pose, one way I'd say is if somebody's going around, like, and typically, you know, once again, the scenario is mom or dad's in the hospital and it's clear she or, you know, can't live at home anymore, got to move out. Very common. Now the kids hit the road and start looking around. They see all the big names. They go up Harry Road and see all the big names, and then they're shocked by the prices. What should they do? How do you evaluate? One way I'd say is they can call your office. Okay. Another one they can do is the Senior Alliance. And if the senior help organization is supposed to be able to give you guidance, not only of what to look for, but also what else is out there, because the big names, and I'll just say the big names like your Waltonwood, your Sunrise, everybody sees them, right? But what about some of the little ones that we don't know about, don't have big advertising budgets? That's where the helpful senior resource offices can be just make or break helpful.
And there's also, too, now the adult foster care. There are thousands, but like five or six residents in one home with a caregiver who's always there. There are some great homes out there, some bad homes too. Okay, you have to be really, really careful, but there are lots of different living opportunities. So people, you know, need to think about that. We were talking about medical situations now earlier, so let's talk about that.
Yeah. And one of the things, I always like to put it in this cute little way, and I put it to the listeners. Can you name the one legal document that could save your life? Okay, the answer is a healthcare power of attorney. And nobody thinks of it that way, but it is literally true. I'll give you two little stories. One, lady's husband is in a nursing home. She just knew he was bad off. She talked to the nurse. I think he needs to see the doctor. No, he doesn't. He's been like that. Oh, he needs to see the doctor. No. She said, I am calling emergency right now. They took him to the hospital. He had very serious pneumonia. You know, if they listened to the nurse, he would have died, you know, probably the next day.
Right.
Two, another lady had her mother in the nursing home. And the mother started, developing very peculiar mental habits, very paranoid. And she developed this twitch. And every time the daughter talked to the nurses, staff, oh, it's just the aging process. So she's farther along in the depression, farther along in the aging, farther along in she's got dementia. Well, it turns out in this case, and the lady is an attorney who wrote a book on it, this case, the nursing home and the medical industry took a healthy bridge-playing 82-year-old woman and killed her in 62 days. It was through what we call psychotropic medications.
Yep.
Psychotropic. So let me come back.
Haldol, there's a lot of them out there. Yes.
They kill. Okay, the body cannot process the toxins. This lady's mother.
Especially seniors.
Yes.
That builds up a toxicity. I know a senior in a local facility who they were giving her pain medication. As you get older, your body has more of and doesn't process and eliminate that. So you can literally die from a dose that they'd give a 40-year-old at 90 years old.
Perfect.
So, so what happened then?
Yeah, perfectly true. Well, in that case, they killed her mother. So, and the other case, obviously, the lady was able to get her husband in the hospital and get the pneumonia taken care of.
But had she not been there that day?
Yeah. It would have been, yeah, exactly. So let me just say, let me come back to the advantage, and I'm really a missionary on the medical power of attorney, especially for seniors. I read a book published for the doctors, and in that book, there's this physician who reviews all the records of physicians that have been sued, malpractice.
Okay.
And he said in his review, he came up with the 2 common reasons for malpractice suits. Now, understand, a malpractice suit is very serious. You don't sue somebody, and attorneys don't take a case if mom had a headache because they didn't give her aspirin.
Right.
Very serious. 2 causes. Number 1, medication interaction, medication mistake. You talk about a lady who died of a liver poisoning from a medication. It could have been that she had an allergy, or if they had checked her records, they might have known that that was exactly the toxic thing to give her, the wrong medication. That is quite possible. 2, medication mistakes. So if you are taking care of mom and they give her a medication that she had a bad reaction from, you immediately got to contact the doctor and let them know. In other words, take the point of mind, you are hiring these people, they are working for you.
Yes.
You got to be in that frame of mind. Second, most common mistake on malpractice complaints, the doctor orders tests and the test results aren't in. Why? Or they aren't reviewed. What's going on? The number 2 cause of malpractice cases, doctor orders tests, they don't happen. Why? Maybe patient doesn't show up. Maybe somebody didn't, order it, so the patient was notified when to go to the lab. 2, situation 2, patient goes to the lab, but they do the wrong test. 3, the right test is done, or the wrong test is done, and the doctor doesn't review, and an abnormality is reported, and what happens? Not reported. Patient never finds out. The patient thinks no news is good news. Wrong.
Patient
In this
dies.
case, no news is bad news.
Yes.
So once again, back to the patient advocate. Remember, as an elder, I am very sick. I can't take care of everything. I need your help. The power of attorney can save my life. Okay?
Yes.
There you go.
When my mom had her stroke 3 years ago, every time the nurse came in to hang a bag, what is that?
Yeah.
Check the bag. And unfortunately, our seniors now who are in their 80s look at doctors and they don't question them. They look at them and say, okay, don't say, I have a problem with this, or what are you going to do? They don't. They respect doctors and they just nod and say, okay, yes, okay, doctor, okay, doctor. Never question doctors about decisions, medications. Is this right for me? They just don't. So it's up to adult children to say, what are you hanging there? Because often deaths in a hospital result from they're giving the wrong patient the wrong thing, they're operating on the wrong limb, or they wheel somebody into surgery. I'm not saying this is an everyday occurrence, but 2 eyes, 4 eyes are better than 2.
Absolutely.
So you need to, if you're not advocating for yourself, you need to have somebody who is advocating for you.
Yeah. And if you wanted to say that, is there one rule, like you just said, Barbara, always ask questions. Don't be shy, ask questions.
Right.
Always. And
Yes.
you'll be a lot better off than if you didn't.
So if you notice something that's going terribly wrong and you're the patient advocate, what should your first step be?
Okay, you have to assess what's going wrong. Now, let's say that mom or dad is just not doing well. Maybe it's their spouse. Okay, not doing well. Then you're going to have to make a secondary medical decision. Call emergency, call 911, have another doctor see him. You're going to have to take over of that treatment. You're going to have to step in and actively manage what's going on.
What if this is happening in a hospital or nursing home? Now you're thinking right now they're under medical care. There are nurses and a doctor overseeing everything, and you can tell that something is not right and things are getting worse and worse. You know your parent well. The staff should know them well too. When they say, oh, well, that's just blah, blah, blah. Now legally, okay, they're in the nursing home. Who's supposed to be responsible for them? So how do you put on the brakes? What do you do with the nursing home to say, wait a minute?
Okay, now, as you point out, Barbara, the nursing home is legally different from the hospital.
Yes.
With the hospital, as I always say, how many people don't know that your doctor doesn't go to the hospital anymore? Staff privileges? No, it doesn't happen anymore. No, it's you go to the hospital, you now have the hospitalist who's in charge of the team, somebody you never met before, you will never meet again. If there's a problem in the hospital, unfortunately the rule is you got to go find that hospitalist and run her down. A lot of doctors are ladies nowadays, or run him down until you find him and put to him, and you got to lean on the nurses real hard. With a nursing home, it's different. I've talked to a lot of doctors, and one complaint they commonly have is we finally have the patient doing very well on this set of medications. He or she goes to the nursing home and they strip them of everything and give them the standard medication that they always give to everybody, and they start go down. Okay, in the nursing home, the patient advocate has the authority to say, stop that medication right now. If they don't listen to you, then there's an office called the Long-Term Care Ombudsman, and you call, pardon me, and you should have that number on your, as we say, speed dial. You should know who the long-term care representative is in the nursing home, and you give her a call immediately. If the nursing home's medical staff is not listening, then you get a call, because they are legally required to follow the patient's instructions. Hospital's a little different. Nursing home, they're legally required.
And in nursing homes, people don't often know that you have a right to see your own doctor.
Exactly right. And unfortunately, my view of the nursing homes, and I apologize to the well-meaning nursing home administrators out there, too many times is administrative convenience. How many times we all know somebody who could walk before they got in the nursing home, but now they're stuck to that wheelchair and they can't get out. Nursing homes seem to like convenience.
And that's illegal, okay, by the way. It's for the staff's convenience that now, so when somebody like my mother had a stroke, was able to walk when she went in, when she got out, she was in a wheelchair and could not walk. So they should be coming out of the nursing home at least with the same abilities as when they went in. And if that's not happening, you have rights in that nursing home, and that's what the ombudsman is for.
Exactly right. And let me just mention a brief little thing. A lot of people know about the Medicare's 100-day skilled post-hospital benefit. What a lot of people don't know is Medicare also has a continuing benefit, and for the Medicare Sharpies out there, Medicare A covers the hospital and post-hospital. Medicare B is one that covers you in home or wherever you are. So let's say, like you say, let's say that Mr. Smith's 100 days, is expired.
Yes.
And now, but he's kind of falling back now. And let's say the 100 days, by the way, if he's declining, they could bring back, if he hasn't used all 100, they could revive it. Okay, let's say he's used 100. Medicare B will provide for therapy like 2 or 3 days a week. So nobody knows that. I don't almost ever see it happen unless a family asks about it.
You have to push for that.
You have to push.
And they can come to the home and do
or in the nursing home too.
Or in the nursing home too. Yes, and yes, exactly. I think it's really important to now survey, and you know about survey. A survey is what they do in the nursing homes every year, and the group comes in and they evaluate records and infection control and blah, blah, blah. So you can go to Medicare.gov, look up where you're thinking about putting mom or dad, or even temporarily after a 3-day hospital stay, and you can go online and it's rated from 1 to 5 stars.
Yeah.
We have a couple of very fine facilities in Westland that have a 5-star rating. And so, but I tell people, look where, first of all, you want your parent to be close to you, because studies have shown that the people who are visited the most get the best care. And you want to make sure that somebody, a facility has been evaluated, and when they have a 5, there is a huge difference between a 5-star facility and a 1-star facility.
And there are 1-stars out there.
Yes, there are 1-stars, and there are a few of them around here. So I always tell people, be very careful. Go to Medicare.gov if you're looking for a facility, but by all means, like with the assisted living, money does not mean they're going to be getting better care. Some of these $7,000 a month places, that doesn't mean that they're going to be watched 24/7. That's not what assisted living is. Okay, so we have to have people very careful about that. And regardless, as seniors age, the healthcare power of attorney is something that you want to do, like you said, can save your life.
Exactly right. And one little thing I'll just mention, a little Medicare secret here that nobody knows. suppose that Mr. Smith is in the hospital, he's being discharged nursing home for rehab, maybe he fell and broke his hip, but they have this Medicare Advantage plan that they can't go to this 5-star nursing home that's near their home. They have to, in the Advantage plan, the closest one over here is only a 3-star. The Medicare secret is you can change your Medicare provider from the Medicare Advantage plan, the traditional Medicare, for the rehab, and then go back to your Medicare Advantage plan when you're back home. It's a long story how to do it.
I was just going to say, I didn't know that myself.
Yeah, it's called, Medicare calls it Special Circumstances Enrollment. And if you go to the Medicare website, medicare.gov, it's actually on the website, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
See, those are the things that, people really need to know. That, okay, that's great. So, if for our viewers, what would you say if you give them advice about their medical situation and their financial situation, people looking ahead? What is your best advice?
Okay, what I'd say is that given the situation you described, you should have the powers of attorney in place. You have your spouse, number one, child number 2, number 3. You can have your whole team deputized and ready to hit the road on an instant. They should be immediately effective. A lot of attorneys make healthcare powers of attorney only effective when 2 doctors certify that you're not able to do it yourself. Forget it, you want immediately effective. Now for some folks, and let's say we do have some single listeners out there, viewers, a living trust can provide that your money will be used the way you specify. Now, that's one thing that many attorneys don't even know. They just worry, well, here's going to get money after you die, and they won't have to go through probate. Hey, how about using it for what I need when I'm alive? How about this one? Watch this. Suppose that we have a lady in an apartment, has a nice little bit of savings. She sold the house, lives in an apartment, and she has a wonderful little, poodle, white poodle. Who takes care of the dog when she breaks her hip and goes to rehab and she's gone for 8 weeks? Sure, she has friends, but did you know if she had a living trust, we could put a pet trust in there that can say, okay, the bills can be paid, doctor can be paid, care can be paid, boarding can be arranged. You can provide for a pet, just like if you had a disabled child, you can provide for a disabled child through a trust when you aren't able. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people don't know these special life situations. We have a legal way of addressing them.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't. I mean, the pet situation, the pets are family members. Yeah. And so, people worry about that as they get older.
Sure.
The responsibility and things can happen. What do you do with the pet?
Exactly.
So that's a good thing to know. Okay, so people who want to set up a living trust, they need to see an attorney,
yes.
Elder law attorney if they're seniors.
I recommend that. See, unfortunately, from my point of view, I might be biased. What I call this traditional estate planning attorneys are all about death and taxes. Mm-hmm. So don't worry, when we die, it's all taken care of. You might say, how about before then?
That's right.
Well, that's where elder law comes in.
Well, it's a good thing to know. And you have a couple of books that you've written that are wonderful
Yes.
guides for families. We will post your number up, so if people would like a book, one is Elder Law Mini Course, and I think that's wonderful. So we will make sure that information gets out to our viewer, and thank you so much for being our guest today.
It's been a pleasure to be here, Barb.
And thank you, friends in the viewing audience, for being with us today.